Take the fuck out.
Well, here we are. It's another episode of Six Star Business Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Corey Cervez. How you doing, Corey?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Good for you to. It's great to have you here, and I'm really excited. We've got Derek Rogers here as our guest today. How you doing, Derek?
I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me on board, Evelyn, and lovely to meet you, Corey.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, let's get started. I always like to ask our guests a few questions just to get to know them initially, and I'm going to fire those questions at you as well. So could you let us know, where are you in the world, first of all, and who do you serve, how do you serve them, and what's something you like to do when you're not busy serving people?
Yeah, I am blessed, Evelyn. I'm living in, I think, is the #1 rated place in the world for people to live. That's the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Why am I here? Because I can. I chose to. In fact, I was here a year and a half ago with my wife on a little bit of a holiday break. And she said, "Oh, it's so beautiful here." And I go, "I know. Every time we come here, it's so beautiful." And then I used that coaching question. I said, "Tell me again why we can't live here." And then that went to, "Oh, yeah, you're right. The kids are fine. My mum was going to move where we were going to move." So we made it happen. Was it friggin' easy during COVID and lockdown? No way. But, you know, the universe kind of tests us whether we're curious or serious, doesn't it? So I'm blessed to be here. Who do I serve? I serve people and organizations to help them be healthier, happier, and guess what? Higher performing. And that's my passion. And I've seen people suffering a hell of a lot, as I'm sure you guys have over the last 3 years, with bushfires here in Australia, COVID, and floods up the east coast of Australia. So that's what I love to do, to empower people with a whole range of training and coaching. Bespoke and accredited. What do I do in my spare time? Well, one of the reasons I love living here is I love the beach, the surf. So I go down, grab my wife most early evenings, about 4:30, and we go down for a swim in the surf. Walk along the beach. We hold hands. We skip in the surf like giggly children, and just take a few deep breaths and say, "Oh my God, how beautiful." We have to pinch ourselves. I've been here like for nearly 2 years, and we still pinch ourselves that we live here and we don't have to get on a plane and go back to Melbourne where we came from, Corey. So it's so cold. So I'm blessed. I love doing that. I'm not only a meditation teacher, but then I have this complexity about me that I also like driving fast cars. I'm in a car club. And I used to rally a bit when I was young and silly. Now I'm just old and silly. So I'm going to a speedway event on Saturday night with a mate. I love brewing craft beer. I'm in 3 different craft beer clubs. I've played competitive golf all my life, and about 15 other things, but that would take up the whole time. So we'll leave it at that for now.
I love it. So many interesting things about you, Derek, and Corey was laughing his head off. And Corey experienced the craft beer of the Queensland region when he was here recently. So there you go. Now there's another craft beer location you could go and test out, Corey, next time you're in Australia.
I just wanted to say you checked all my boxes, so I'm coming over to Sunshine when I'm over again, so don't worry.
Yeah, and you'd be very heartened to know that this summer I'm over the fruity, pineapple-y, guava, banana-type flavoured beers, and I've gone back to the German beers, the traditional Pilsners, the Kolsch, and the lagers, those beautiful honey, biscuity, clean, refreshing flavours in the summer. So my son was in Cologne, Germany last year, and I said to him, "You've got to try these beers," and he did. And he said, "Oh, Dad, they're amazing." And I said, "There you go." And I've just been running with it ever since.
Fabulous. Yeah, you've sold Corey for sure. So look out for that knock on the door.
Yeah, anytime.
Well, I'd love to learn a bit more about your journey, Derek, because what you do, there's obviously a story, there's a reason that you're doing what you're doing. You're so purposeful and passionate about your work. Would you care to take us through the journey you've been on that's brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably a distinct moment in my career and my life was leaving teaching full time. So I was a PE, health, outdoor ed teacher in a Melbourne school, running wellbeing programs and upskilling and my staff. And I'm really passionate about it. And my principal said to me, "There's a huge need for wellbeing out there." And I said, "Yep." And so I did the simple thing is 1 day a week, but then the company wanted me or another school wanted me on the other day and end up biting the bullet and leaving. However, I was passionate and could see, yes, I loved entrepreneurs. I'd done probably 5-6 years of entrepreneur training previously, which was sort of setting me up for a different world from a sheltered sort of government type background. And in fact, I was probably pushing too many boundaries and outside the square and getting myself in trouble and asking too many questions and finding I just wanted to break free. So I did. I broke free from that, established world. But here's the silly thing. Here's me being passionate about health and well-being, and silly Derek, I didn't realise that I was probably burnt out myself at the time. I was a single dad with 2 teenagers. I just was passionate, and my self-care had sort of, I'll do that if I've got time, like a lot of single parents, unfortunately working full time. And I sort of probably didn't realize at the time, but I kind of spiraled into depression pretty quickly. Tell me what would go wrong with this recipe. You've gone from a high-performing team as a people and a team person, as an extrovert, as you can probably tell, to trying to start a business from my spare bedroom by myself and not see anybody for days. And so, I just started to go downhill. And then I thought I've got to get serious and be focused. And so I stopped doing the socializing on the weekends, things that brought me joy, and during the week, and just to focus. And I had a partner at the time telling me, you've got to be serious, you've got to be focused on this now. I thought, yep, you're right. And so I inadvertently again stopped doing the things that brought me joy to focus on this new business. That's what you've got to do. That's what you've got to do. And I was just going downhill and not realizing it. And then I'm tired. Why am I tired? I'm just so flat. Why am I flat? I should be all excited and talking about this. And I was. And then I'd wake up in the morning and just go, oh my God, kids off to school. I just need to go back to bed for a while. And then I was catching up with a partner at the time, and she said, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. And she said, you just look tired, and have blood tests, and, nothing, all normal, the old normal. I go, well, I don't feel normal. And so here I am as a health and wellbeing guy. There's something wrong with me, but there's nothing wrong with me. And I'll just backwards and forwards. There's something wrong with me. There's definitely something wrong with me, but no, there's nothing wrong with me. That would be shame. I wouldn't have any credibility. How can I say I'm making a stand for health and well-being when I'm struggling myself? That would be inauthentic. That would be, I just felt that would be just almost commercial craziness. And so I soldiered on in a downward spiral. I tried systems and things and spending all this money and going to do these courses, and then I come back with just this overwhelm of things to do, and I just struggled. And so systems and structures and templates are not my strength. And guess what? A school gave me systems, structures, and templates. It even had things called bells to tell you when it was time to go to the next class, And so I didn't have any of that at home. And I still struggle to this day. And so I've learned the hard way that I need to be into an organisation. I miss that team. I miss that team sports. And so it was only when I was just feeling so down that I didn't want to be there anymore. And I thought, this is crazy. I'm just thinking of taking my own life. The pain, the numbness of of the feeling I had and the zero motivation. And then I had a partner saying, "What's wrong with you? You know, you're just lazy." That didn't help. And then so I said, "Well, Mike's husband, he was really motivated." That didn't help either. And that was just arrows to the heart as a bloke. And then I thought, okay, I've got to do something, Derek. And so I went online and I just looked at a DASS test, D for depression, A for anxiety, and S for stress. And because I practiced meditation and did martial arts, although I think I might have stopped before then too. Oh my God, there's another sign I forgot about. 2 and 4 for depression and anxiety, for stress and anxiety, but depression was 24. So it's like, whoa, do not pass go, go straight to your GP. And I thought, oh my goodness, okay, perhaps I better talk. And then I talked to the GP and said, look, I've got this depression test, here's the printout. And I said, let's do another one, similar result. And he said, I think, we need to perhaps have a chat to a psychologist. And silly, arrogant me at the time, well, what do they know? I know everything about health and well-being. What do they know? I'm trained in mindset coaching, but what I've learned is we get stuck in our head, and that's where I was, and we become our worst enemy. We have procrastination paralysis by overanalysis, and that was me. And so I was grateful, and he sort of pointed it out in a way that sort of was good options back then, probably not now, because it's hard to get into psychology. They're all overworked, of course, with COVID. And he said, if you don't like this one, you can try this one. If you don't like that one, you can try that one. I thought, okay, what have I got to lose? And I was good. The first lady I met said, what's been happening? And I said, well, I've been doing this and this and this. And then she said, right, so you've stopped connecting with your team, your tribe, you've stopped doing the things you enjoy. And I went, oh my God, Derek, you idiot. I've done all the things to tick the box of well-being. I've unticked them. But at least I had the self-awareness to realize, Corey and Evelyn, what I needed to do to get myself well again. So the last missed call from a mate, I rang him back and said, oh, sorry, I've been diagnosed with depression. He said, where you been, Derek? Where you been? I said, look, sorry, I've just been down, haven't feel like that. And he said, oh, you'll be right, mate. Harden up, you'll be right. Yep, thanks. The second bloke I rang said, oh, Derek, where you been? We're missing you on a Wednesday night with the boys. We should catch up. And I said, yeah, I know. Look, I've just been diagnosed with depression. He said, oh, that's no good. Just come out. We'll see you next Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing you. And what he didn't get was I knew that's what I needed to do, but I physically couldn't get myself going. It was still, that's way over there. Yeah. And it was only the third guy that I rang. And he said, Derek, oh my God, you got the old black dog. I said, yeah. And he said, righto, girls can look after the shop. I'm coming around to see you now. He said, righto, come on. We're going out for a cup of coffee in the sunshine, and dragged me out. And that's what I needed. Yeah. And he said, righto, where are those golf clubs in the garage? Thursday night, come on. We're going out and having a hit of golf. And so I'm so grateful that he knew what to do. And so he just dragged me, not kicking and screaming, but just got me out of my own head. Otherwise, I would have just curled up at home and tried to, ignore it. And of course, that's not going to do me or anybody else any good. We're all trying to do the best we can with the thought processes that we have. And I realized that my thought processes were not serving me well. And I needed to reframe a lot of my thinking. And so that got me on the journey of getting myself well again. And then, and so I see that as an advantage. So I love passing on my skills and knowledge, lived experience to men, particularly in wellbeing and training workshops, whether it's safety focused, whether it's first aid, mental health focused, whatever the organization is that has me in the door. And I sort of look around them and I tell them a bit of my story for the first 5 minutes. And I say, do you know how to keep yourself well? And most of them go, nope. And I say, what's a self-care activity for you? Friday night, going down the pub, getting smashed. I went, well, not really self-care, and being an ex-teacher, I've been doing some training with teachers lately, and they're talking about their bottle of wine as their best friend. What, every night? So people are hurting out there, and I'm looking to be able to play a bigger game, make a bigger impact. And I was just saying to Evelyn, I realised at Christmas time, probably being little old me by myself when I've moved from a couple of different locations in Australia, sort of starting again, rebranding a bit of this, and it's taken its toll on me. So now I'm looking at going back into an organisation and having that sense of team, that getting out of my own office, going in, whether it's full time or 3 or 4 or 5 days a week. Maybe it's traveling around the country like I've been doing the last 10 years on and off anyway, somewhere where the better I feel and the more excited I am about life, the more I'll have more to give and more to share, which is obviously a no-brainer. So that'll do for now.
Wow, it's like a heartwarming story. I know you talked about pain, right? But you figured out the way forward through that pain. And you've raised a couple of really interesting and relevant points around mental health and also how people are currently coping, self-medicating, numbing, escaping. And it's not just teachers, it's anybody. And the things that you're talking about are relevant to everybody, even business owners. You know, we all have moments, don't we? And I wonder, like the experience you went through where you left teaching, you know, you started to go downhill because you'd unchecked all the self-care boxes. And I wonder for other entrepreneurs and solo business owners, how well they manage this, you know, or does self-care go out the window? You know, at what point do they look at it? But I think it's a really, really relevant conversation and thing for us all to look at, everybody, because we need connection, you know, we're all different. We have different needs in different areas. But I love the way that you've shared that story, because I know it's going to speak to everybody to sit back and look at themselves and what they're doing or not doing.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I've been running involved in some masterclasses for small business owners, and one of the guys said, Derek, tell me about that fatigue whirlpool thing again. So I run a little workshop on this fatigue whirlpool, and there's about 8. I'll just go through it quickly. So, you know, you just tradies or business owners will get up in the morning, early in the morning, don't have time for breakfast, so skip breakfast, and then they'll out the door, they might call past a shop and they'll grab a couple of big iced coffees, you know, really huge ones, and they'll be triple shots. Grab those and just that'll do for a start. And then mid-morning, their brain's starting to go fuzzy, so because our brain is hardwired for fats, sugars, and salts. That's survival brain. It's been there for 1 million years. What we've got to be is smart, have good fats, good sugars, and good salts. And of course, there's no coincidence that Macca's and KFC will have they'll be at the roundabout as going into town and out of town, because you're tired and you're just driving there automatically. Oh my God, how did I get into the drive-through or coming out? And the same with those salty fried fish and chips and things. The same with the buns from the bakery. And so, you know, I say to the guys, then you're off, you know, mid-morning, you're off to get your buns, you're off to get your salty dim sims and things. And they go, oh, yeah. And then I said, you know, then you're getting more fuzzies. You don't have enough water during the day. And then you're starting to argue with the guys at work. Oh, yeah, I thought he's a dickhead. No, it's, you know, let's look at ourselves. And they get home fatigued, and then they'll have half a dozen beers, a big meal, and then just collapse on the couch. And then they go to bed early because they've got to get up early in the morning, but they haven't. The healthiest, longest lived people in the world walk and move after eating. And our digestive system needs that moving to help make it work in the process. And so, you know, who's been to bed after you early? Oh, sorry, who's been to bed straight after a big meal? You go out to a restaurant, sometimes you might, you know, finish till 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then you go home, and then you're trying to lay there, and it's like, whoa, on your tummy. And this is what happens. Then you wake up in the morning, and then you're like, oh, I haven't rested, because alcohol interferes with our sleep. Heavy meal interferes with our sleep, and you haven't had breakfast, and then you're going out the door and doing it again. So I remember doing it to these guys, and I said, here's 8. Look, just choose one. Which would make the biggest impact for your life that you could do at the moment? And I said, Derek, what if I choose all 8? And they go, no, okay, just one, and quite a lot of them said, 4 or 5 or 8 of those. Oh my God, man, this is my life. I said, well, how is it impacting you? And so just that norm of making poor decisions, that norm of not thinking well, that norm of conflict. I remember the guy who invited me into the masterclass. He said, Derek, I was there the other day in the bakery and I saw some tradies come in and they're looking at the pie window there for about 10 or 15 minutes and just couldn't make a decision. So he said, well, what the hell are they doing back on the work site? So that just this one little thing. So I think business owners, and particularly if they've been smashed, Evelyn, Corey, with that they haven't been open up their hours, whether it's logistics, they haven't been able to get their supplies and resources, which has happened around the world. There's shortage of supplies. There's hardly a business owner on the planet that hasn't been challenged like they've never been challenged before. And so when we get challenged and stressed, we go into our survival brain. And we want to, that's not where we make the best decisions. That's not where the kindest, the empathetic, we get grumpy quickly. And so we want to be back in this frontal lobe, which is our higher functioning part of our brain. But all the uncertainty in the world has a lot of people had us there for the last 3 years. And so I teach people in simple breathing techniques. In 2 minutes, you can get calm and clear and make better decisions. And guess what? The people around you will thank you because I'll enjoy having you more, So, yeah, there's so much simple skills and tools that I've learned over 20 years of doing the inner work myself that I love sharing for those who, up for open, and you've got to be open. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to serve the business owners, small business owners, or their teams, or if they're brave enough, the whole organisation themselves.
Derek, a question: How challenging for people is the shame factor, in the sense of everybody actually has a mask, is wearing a mask. We pull out or pull up our best efforts to the outside world, pretending to be always good. I mean, you just told your story. And in fact, we don't listen to what's happening inside. Yeah, we try to be the strong man. And so how much of these experiences do you have with your clients where literally they don't realize, as you also haven't realized by unchecking all your boxes, which made and kept you well over time, and then you ran into your depression. And so how important is that to bring people back to, instead of competing with others or running behind after a busy schedule because they have to do this due to the programming and the conditioning, to just pull the brake, step back, take a deep breath and say, what the heck am I doing? How do I feel? And what do I have to do?
And that's often, Corey, a great strategy is just, okay, let's just stop for a second, because we can't make good decisions if we're in that overwhelm. So it's maybe it's breathing, maybe it's a walk and talk. I remember working with a couple and owned a business in hospitality, and it was just going gangbusters, and they were so stressed. And I said, all right, do you want to meet at work? Where do you want to meet? Okay, there's a park nearby. We'll meet in the park. We'll sit in the bench. We'll go for a walk and talk, and just help them take that deep breath. And then we can ask those deeper questions, and often those better questions about why are we doing what we're doing. And you're absolutely right. Behind a lot of our programming as adults is guilt and shame from single parents, but wanting to do the right thing by them. I've learned that most people are building other people's dreams. They're not our dreams. They're our parents' dreams. And so, what that guilt and shame that, as Brene Brown has been quite eloquently bringing to the fore around the world the last few years, is that we're not immediately aware of it, but that's what I like in the coaching. I'm trained in the purest coaching mindset on neuro coaching, and it's advice free, and you just keep asking, what do you think that's about? And then inevitably they'll talk about, I'm just feeling guilty or shameful, and then, okay, how's it showing up in your life? And then they go, oh my God. And so, what do we need to do to let it go and address that? And so often it's, I couldn't possibly, I can't let my mum down, I can't let my dad down, and all of that. And then you find that, it doesn't take too long, that actually they'll keep going and you'll be okay. And we're not aware that that's that guilt and shame that's been running our behaviours, and often stressing us out no end, and the people around us in a quite often an unnecessary way. Yeah.
How much is consciousness and awareness a topic? Because as you just confirmed, we are all driven by patterns. Actually, I don't know, 75, 85, 90% of what we do on a daily basis is literally not consciously experienced. It's just a program. So we are not very often conscious about what we do. And how much is awareness required, and making yourself conscious about who you are, where you are, to actually step out of this, of your own hamster wheel, corporate hamster wheel, whatever it is, to really start consciously living, and then taking your luck in your own hands to determine your future destiny.
Yeah, it's everything, Corey. It's I'm a firm believer we can never have too much self-awareness. That self-awareness gives us the power to make better choices, better decisions, and then that just makes the impact in our lives where it needs to be. And so, it's that you're right. It's in NLP we learn that 95% of all of our choices, decisions, and behaviours are subconscious. They're automatic. And for people to think, oh yes, I'm in charge of my life, they're kidding themselves. But it's what your toothbrush. I say, why'd you choose your toothbrush? And I go, well, I don't know. Well, that's right. You don't know. You just automatically chose it because of the ad on TV, and you fill up half your supermarket, your shopping basket with just stuff automatically, and you're programmed. You're not making conscious choices. People are not even aware that the 3 people they hang out with the most are going to influence their lives, whether they're aware of it or not. Why are you doing that? I don't know. And why are you doing this? I don't know. It's because the people are impacting you and you're not even aware of it. And so it used to be 6, now it's 3. So, that gives us a bit of clarity. We're going to have a look at what am I doing in my life? Where am I going? And who are the 3 people I hang out with the most? And yes, well, perhaps the first thing is not to blame them. The first thing is to say, well, okay, what do they represent? And is that where I want to go? Is that the results I want? And then it takes courage to look behind, particularly in our men's circle. We talk about it, not so much the bag of shame, but our bag of stuff that we're dragging along our life. And of course, as we get older, it tends to get bigger. And we want to go forward, but we haven't dealt with that stuff, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and it's holding us back more until we often we drown and we can't go forward. And so we've got to turn around and face that stuff that we haven't dealt with, whether it's our inner childhood, because we know as an imprint, all human beings at 0 to 7 is our imprint period. By the time we're 4 years old, like 70% of who we think we are has been established and what we can do at 4 years old. And then by 70%, by 7 is 90%. So it's and that just plays out for the rest of our life until we get. You heard the expression that universe will tickle us with a feather, hit us with a brick, or hit us with a bus. And so they're the opportunities to actually, things are not going well. The universe will try and tickle you and say, Corey, I think you need to change. And you go. And then we get whacked by a brick and think, oh my God, I got sick this week. I nearly crashed my car this week or something. And you go, it's fine, just keep going. And the universe is saying, no, it's not going well. And then then we lose our job, we lose our wife, we lose our house, we lose our car, has something like that. And so it's, and then it's, of course, it's still not compulsory to learn. It's just a bloody good idea. Growing up is still compulsory. You can get older, but are you getting any wiser and learning from your mistakes? And so that takes courage to face this stuff. Men's work, we call it, that's the cave. That's the darkness. And going in there, man, that's scary. That's scary. Shit, I'm not going in there. I'm going this way. But of course, that's where the gold is. And so we don't have to do it alone. We just need a brother beside us and say, come on, we'll go in there with you. I've been in there before. And someone, we trust and just go with us, take us on that journey. And that's what I like about being a coach is I've got the torch, I can shine the way. And then you make the choices of where you want to go. But what I'm hearing is this is the way forward. And so I love doing that. But I love the training as well because I'm an extrovert. I need to be in front of people and see them. And if I can hug as many as I can, well, then that's a bonus. Yeah.
I love your energy, Derek, and everything you talk about. Just, I wish we could keep talking for a couple of hours and just soak it all in. There's so much to this. Well-being affects everybody.
Mm.
And it's one of the pillars of our 6-star genius model of what 6-star is all about. We talk about well-being as one of the 9. And as you're talking, I'm always processing and thinking, through the mind or the lens of a small business owner, What does it mean to them? And I think from my experience it's been something separate to business or a checkbox exercise for larger companies or even smaller companies. But now there's more and more talk about topics or things that have come in. For instance, I've had podcast conversations with women, a couple recently, about bringing the topic of menopause into businesses and how perimenopause affects, women over 40 and what that means for business. Now, this is all about well-being. It's about having these conversations. There's mental health. There's all these things. And I love it, but I think it's got to start with us. And we're humans. We're not robots. We can't operate on this treadmill or this, roster of just a continuum of the same amount of output every day. We don't function that way. And understanding our limits, what energizes us, what drains us, and actually doing those things, that's another thing. You get a type A personality, someone who's, a control freak and all of that, or someone who's a perfectionist or, workaholic. Well, where's the self-care might be the last thing on the list. Sorry, as you can tell, this topic excites me and I'm very passionate about it and I love hearing what you're saying. I would love to hand over to you again and I'd love you to talk to us about what does 6-star mean to you in light of everything you do?
Yeah, 6-star is probably those 6 areas of health. So with all, we've got our mental health, our physical, our emotional, our social, our spiritual, and then the 6th one is supports. So I'm very much holistic. So I was talking about with a business owner having a business problem, and I'm coaching them as a business coach, and then it's the problem is never the problem because it's holistic. We think it's this area, but it's actually this area over here. And as you were saying earlier, Corey, that businesses think that this system is the problem, but it's actually this system is affecting that system and they're not looking there. And so it's having that expertise to come in as a big picture looking around. They maybe just head down too much and we can see it for them from our independent perspective. And so for me, 6 stars is a business that is, we've come off the GFC, 2008, was it? It's all about the dollars. It's all about the numbers. Got to catch your numbers, got to catch your dollars. Well, now we need to just rethink that. It's all about your people. There's not one business on the planet that doesn't have people. And so we've gone from numbers, and made the mistake in a lot of businesses of putting people in charge of people who have great number skills. And then guess what? A lot of them have had pretty poor people skills. Yeah. And so 75% of people in the planet don't leave their job, they leave their boss. Yeah. Only 13% of leaders have had any leadership training. So a 6-star business to me is one that develops good leaders. It develops the leaders to develop their people. It's not about controlling people. It's not about managing people. It's developing and empowering people. And someone a little bit more famous than me, Sir Richard Branson, he said, if you look after your people, they'll look after your business. It's not that hard. And yet we've got such a mindset still to turn around. It's almost like a big battleship of the numbers. A friend of mine is looking for work at the moment in finance, and she's got all these jobs everywhere, and they're offering her all these big dollars because finances, we need someone in charge of the numbers in the finance. And I thought, wouldn't it be refreshing if businesses took the same enthusiasm for people? We need people to help manage people and help them by inspiring them and supporting them. And as you said, Evelyn, we've got those basic human needs haven't been met over the last 3 years. The sense of belonging, the sense of being connected. This is all in our DNA. As I said, we're human beings. We try to be too much human doings, but we need to go back to be human beings. Yeah, connected, belonged. Yeah, listened to or heard, trusted, included. Yeah, and then if we can be recognized and celebrated, research shows that we'll be more loyal than just throwing money or benefits. People will be so loyal, you have to tell them to go home at night time and tell them to take a holiday because they'll never have a holiday. And so I've learned this in the Judith Glasser model of healthy versus unhealthy culture. And again, it's just basic human needs. You don't need several degrees in science and to be a sociologist or a psychologist or anything. This is simple, but most businesses are ignoring it. From next week in Queensland, we have the psychological safety law come in. Victoria and New South Wales have had it in for a couple of years. So, Cora, just to bring up to speed, is Germany the same, where businesses have a duty of care for work health and safety for the physical safety, but they also have a legal duty of care for psychological safety. Yeah. And so, we need businesses to look at that. The more they can nurture their people will just help their business go gangbusters. And that's a technical term. Yeah.
It's a challenge though, because if you look to the big business, the bigger the business is, the more you need to be predictable for your shareholders and everybody. So that means you break down the goals a CEO has into the teams and onto individuals by measuring them by your standard KPIs, which are not meant for us to be measured on. I have been years measured on saving targets or sales targets, and then coming with this new set of skills to improve the life of employees within the company literally means eliminate all the KPIs. But with eliminating the KPIs, you literally eliminate the predictability of a company, which makes them attractive to shareholders to invest. And this, I think, is the biggest challenge. I don't know how you have been facing that and coming across, and what type of experience you have. And I think it's still not there. Companies are doing it because it's a kind of a trend. Everybody does it. We have to do it. Otherwise, our customers are not going to buy our stuff. So we need to pretend to be sustainable, do this and that. But the willingness, I question that the willingness really is there and comes from a deeper understanding of what needs to happen, what type of change has to occur in today's economy.
Yeah, what if the KPIs included how we get along with each other. What if the KPIs included leaders spending time with their teams? Yeah. I think you can build any KPI in that you deem is important enough. Just got to have that conversation around and have that shared vision that this is the way to go. And certainly you brought up the shareholder, and that's certainly a big, often a conflict that I've seen working with companies, because the shareholders, want the prices up, and they bring people in to drive the performance up. And then the research shows that yes, you might go temporarily for the first couple of years, increase, but then you go down as people are leaving and the conflict. And so the short-term gain is a long-term pain. And so the smarter companies or the boards are saying, hang on, that's not really a good long-term strategy.
I've got to. I know we're coming up to the top. We've got to wrap this up. But I've got a question for you. We've had some great conversations lately, and with different people around Six Star, and the blend of the three areas of people, purpose, and profits as being the equal focus in a business. Obviously, what you just said about the corporates that just focus on the profits, and the shareholders just want the profits and they forget about the other two, and that drives it up, temporarily. My question to you is, do you think that if a business was to focus on purpose and people first, or, do the profits come?
Yes, and yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If we love going to work and feel included and valued and listened to, it's a no-brainer. We're going to be more productive, happier, communicate better, safer, more engaged. And then we love what we're doing, and we'll be making more of what we need to make. We'll be selling more of what we need to sell. The Dutch guy a couple of years ago that won the world's most engaged workplace, he was interviewed by a Canadian lady. Anyway, and she said, "What do you do? What's your secret?" And he said, "I don't do anything special." And she said, "Well, you must do something. What do you do?" And can we go to your workplace? Yeah. And here he had air hockey over there. He had table tennis tables over there. Had this great looking cafe set up on there. And she said, "Well, aren't you worried that they're going to go off and have all this fun and downtime and not actually come back to work?" And he goes, "No, I put them in there for me, and I don't employ people I don't see a spark in their eye, and we got to have a shared vision of why we're here together. And then I just create an environment where they love coming to work. I've got to tell half these guys to go home. I don't make them. Yes, we have a game plan of KPIs of let's have this as a game plan what we're working to, but it's also it's a game. And perhaps he doesn't have shareholders that are forcing him from a different angle. I don't know, but it was just something that he did by accident. But the researcher was able to unpack that he ticked all the boxes of what creates a high-performing workplace.
Love it. That's really inspiring. We're down to the wire, and I like to ask our guests a final question, and that is, do you have a piece of advice, a tidbit or a nugget that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I think for any employer and owner there, it's treating your people like family. I know some small businesses are very good at that. Have the family business. But the same, you can have 3,000 employees and still create the same culture where that you would have in your family, where you care about people.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Derek. It's easy to listen to you. I enjoy listening to you, and you bring a lot of wisdom and inspiration to people. So thank you. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
That's it. My pleasure.
Corey, have you got any final comments for Derek?
The only comment I would have is we need to have more people like Derek, authentic coaches who really understood what the meaning of life is. At the end of the day, it always comes down to family and friends, and all interaction in the world, regardless of automation, digitization, it's happening between people. So it's people and relationships. If you focus on that, everything else comes and evolves by itself. Yeah. And we need more people who help others to understand this, because they are living in their bubble and they need somebody to open the door and to step out of the bubble and to see the nice world we have in front of us. Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Cool.
Thank you, Derek. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot.
everybody.